Welcome back to Afternoon Express. Now, we're about to take the bread that we have just been celebrating throughout the show and make it a bit of a sweeter loaf.
Yes, we are.
Sweet, sweet like you two ladies. And now, Pali, I know you don't really like desserts that much or sweet treats, but I've got a sneaky suspicion that you're going to enjoy this one.
Okay, not only am I going to be the judge of that, but again, we're going to be calling in Fritz Koen, and he's also going to be giving us his rating. So if chocolate is your happiness, then this next recipe will have you smiling from ear to ear. The scrumptious, quick and need-free chocolate chip bread is made with Clover Classic Dairy Snack and can be served up in a flash.
In a flash.
Now, I'm all about quick, easy, but tasty recipes.
Need-free. You had me at need-free.
And that's exactly what this is. So this is a take on a traditional Irish soda bread. So there's no kneading, no proving. You literally whisk it up in a flash into the oven and it is scrumptious. So Tooms, I see you've started again. It's again you with the nuts, but I'm loving this for you. So just chop up those nuts and I'm going to get straight onto the dough. So we've got our bread flour, of course, and I'm starting with my dry ingredients. I just always find that it's nice to get those in the bowl. Then you're able to make a well and add your wet ingredients. So we've got some chopped roasted hazelnuts over there. We've got some chocolate chips. And again, we're using bicarb. So we're going to sprinkle that in, and then I'm going to swap it over and move on to my wet ingredients. So we've got some milk just to loosen it up. Again, we've got some chocolate hazelnut spread. You could omit this or just use, you could even use peanut butter in this stage. Ooh. So you can really make this recipe your own and give that a stir. Now you'll see that this recipe mentions that you use enough Clover Classic Dairy Snack to bring this to a dough. So slowly add it. I would go for 1.25 cups again with this recipe, but just depends on how the dough looks. So it's again feeling, and that just comes with practice. So feel your dough. Use all your senses. It's very important when you're baking. Use all of your senses. So again, I'm going to go in with my Clover Classic Dairy Snack. Source of 7 vitamins, deliciously creamy and smooth every time, and you can see it in the outcome of this recipe.
Now, Joe just mentioned something that this is somewhat of you said we're calling it a soda bread, right?
Yes, so an Irish soda bread traditionally, because it's a quick bread, you're using any kind of yogurt or buttermilk traditionally, and it reacts with the bicarb that we've added into this dough, and that's what gives it the rise. So there's no yeast, there's no baking powder, it just does all the work for you. So it's, again, a quick bread. You don't even need a tin. We've baked one in a loaf tin, which you're welcome to do. And you see, so I've just eyeballed here, ladies, and I've noticed that I haven't quite added enough of the dairy snack, so I'm going to
so you keep pouring that in. In this moment, I would like to call our master bread maker into the loft, into our kitchen, just to have a little bit of a taste test and get his opinion. So on that note, Fritz Koen, come on in here. You've got your apron on, sir, but now the work for you is done. It's time for you to taste. So Jay has prepared a small little taste test there with a little slice of strawberry on top, just for you to have a taste of.
So this is the soda bread.
So that is the soda bread. And listen, every time I get calm, I get stressed again. But I'm confident in this one.
But I just want to ask Fritz, because that's something you mentioned there, Jay, where the dough was slightly a bit on the drier side. Now, Fritz, when making bread, how important is then, let's just say your dough is a bit on the drier side, how does it affect the bread outcome if you keep adding the dry and the wet at that time when you realize maybe your dough is too hard and you add some liquid, loosen it up, then you realize you've added too much and you add flour. Yeah. What does that then do to your final product?
Yeah, so great question. Unfortunately, what happens is you can add more moisture, but as soon as you've gone and added more flour, your ratio is completely out of salt or, the other ingredients that you've used. So that is a critical area. You would hopefully not get there.
Okay.
But adding moisture is critical because the drier your bread, the crummier it will be, the shorter the shelf life you have on it. It just starts crumbling apart, and that's not part of what we love about a bread, which is interesting about a sourdough bread because I don't know it, so it seems like it's quite dry, interesting, sounds like a lazy man's bread if you ask me. But I love the additions that you've made, and I'm super curious to try this, guy.
And while you're tasting over there, Fritz, I'm just going to show viewers at home a quick technique or trick when baking this bread. It's got a high moisture content, so it tends to bake quite a while in the oven. And what I like to do, Tooms, if I can just grab this knife from you, using the back end of your knife, just score the bread in a cross And what that does is it increases the surface area, so the heat actually goes into that little crevices that you've made, and that allows it to bake in a much shorter time.
Wow.
Okay,
Very
you add
clever.
those chocolate chips on the top, making sure that it is delicious, it is sweet. And if you would like to get your hands on this recipe, head over to afternoonexpress.co.za. We are shortly about to get Fritz's rating.
So, we've had classic fashion from Timby, classic cars, thanks Chad, and we've seen classic hairstyles. And you, Michael? Classic.
The classic range from Clover. Timeless taste.
Made with love by Clover.